inappropriate in constantly novel and unexpected ways. This manuscript, anxious as it is on its own, can certainly never be resolved into a transcendent work of art, and therefore cannot ever be included in a traditional artistic canon of the sort usually taught. Kenneth Sison asks why an illustrator so incompetent would venture to create the images of this manuscript at all, unless he was simply copying from an illustrated exemplar. This is what every art historical article from 1967 reads like, by the way. But certainly an incompetent illustrator, if that's what he was, need not copy the illustrations in an exemplar. I propose instead that this illustrator created these images, whether he was copying them or not, because the images matter to the text, and because in a larger sense these images and the texts and the monsters they contain matter. Skip my darkness, there's the darkness. We're to the conclusion. I'd like to close with another anecdote. This one is darker than the one with which I began. A few years ago, toward the end of my extended unit on monsters in my medieval survey, we covered depictions of Jews. We read the relevant chapter of Deborah Strickland's compelling Demons, Saracens, and Jews Making Monsters in Medieval Art. And we're discussing the images of the 12th century Winchester Psalter. This is the work that appears in all the major global art history survey textbooks. It's in your Jansons and your Stockstads. But they all showcase the compelling Hellmouth scene rather than the shockingly anti-Semitic images of Passion. Here the Jews are literal monsters with sharp fangs and distorted, grimacing faces, savages with great hooked noses carrying not only rough clubs, but even weapons made of giant bones. Having set the Psalter in the context of the Wonders of the East and related monster texts, I believed I had set the stage for a thoughtful discussion of the careful manner in which illuminators, especially in the 12th and 13th centuries, subtly altered the narrative of the Passion by substituting grotesquely caricatured Jews in the place of the Romans throughout the story. Through the use of images, since the scriptural text could not be altered, Pontius Pilate becomes a Jew. The Roman soldiers become Jews. According to the Gospel of John, Jesus was arrested by a group consisting of both Roman soldiers and Jewish temple police. But the figures here are all caricatured Jews. Moreover, through the frequent use of contemporary clothing, they become contemporary Jews, rather than those of over 1,000 years earlier. This fostered the narrative that the Jews were and remain killers of Christ, a central pillar in anti-Jewish rhetoric and action in the Middle Ages and well beyond, leading to blood libel claims, claims of post-desecration, that's when Jews steal the consecrated wafer and stab it, and other entirely fictional acts of defamation that suggest that in the medieval present, Jews carried ceaselessly on, killing Christ through ritual reenactments of the crucifixion. A student raised her hand with a look of confusion and anger on her face. She said she didn't understand what I was trying to get at. What my point was, since, she said, the quaver of emotion in her voice, with this image on the screen, this image, that this is what Jews look like, more or less. And anyway, they did kill Jesus. She then screamed out the text, shrieked the text of John 19:15, saying, and the Jews shouted, kill him, crucify him. She was quoting interestingly. I had to look this up after. That's not how I remembered the quote. From the God's Word translation. The most violent English translation I have been able to find, since most read take him, or away with him, whereas this one reads kill him. The comparative accuracy of translation from the Greek original, I assure you, is irrelevant, as she was inspired only by reading the modern English version. The director of translations for the American Bible Society has critiqued this particular translation, noting that, quote, poorly informed readers are likely to interpret the polemic against the Jews in the New Testament as if Jews of all time are somehow implicated. Huh, you think? In this way, the modern translation and the medieval image are in concert with one another, and the resulting impression conveyed by my student was that the Jewish monster was real. The impact of these imagined monsters has been all too real from the Middle Ages onward. I was struck, temporarily speechless. This is, you will all know, an amazing But as I soundlessly worked my jaw in an effort to formulate a reply, I saw in the eyes of all of my other students a shocked recognition. All of this matters. All of this is relevant. I was trying to show how medieval images were designed to allow medieval people to confuse one group of Jews from the 1st century with all Jews in their own day, and there in 21st century America, my students saw this same notion alive and kicking. Their horrors serve to demonstrate that images of monsters from another time and place are not just dead curios, dead relics of a lost age. And that those images of Jews that brought this out ought not be given too much weight. We could have had the same sort of outburst based on medieval images of Muslims, or of Indians, or of Africans. Indeed, the latter two groups are often depicted as deeply monstrous, since all of the wonders of the East, the lying, man-eating... I know I'm illuminating. The lying, man-eating Donestra, giant-eared Penoti, Onocentaur, and On are all supposed to dwell in India and Africa. I close with an account of this very disturbing class episode, not because contemporary racism, rooted in millennium-old bigotry, is the only or even the most important relevance of monsters. Rather, it should serve to demonstrate the vast spread of the aftershocks that follow the arrival of the monstrous, the power and durability of its impact and import, in their distorted aping of their creators and their world. The monsters show us how cultures delimit their own boundaries, how they see themselves. What a culture respects and desires is revealed in these portraits of scorn and disgust. This classroom moment of hate and fear, uncomfortable as it was for my students and for me, should also remind us that when we study the monsters of the past, we often study our own demons as well. How might we begin to move beyond the demonization of one another? Patricia McCormack, writing about the theoretical construct of the post-human and its intersection with monstrosity, turns the lens back on the reader, writing that, quote, in the most reduced sense, then, through concepts of adaptability and evolution itself, all organisms are unlike. We are all, she writes, and must be monsters, because nothing is ever like another thing, nor like itself, even from one moment to the next. Perhaps, then, we might begin with an examination of the monstrous, which time and again highlights the porous nature of the boundary that ought to separate us from them. Whatever we might say about monsters past and present, I remain quite certain this field is a renewable and self-sustaining one, and the subject of our study will be available for a long time to come. The monster has shown its enduring importance within a wide range of cultural landscapes, from the ancient Near East to the contemporary digital age. And though the monster is hunted over and over again, it shows no danger of being hunted to extinction. The protean nature of the monstrous is among its key traits. And no doubt our own contemporary societies, whether we know it or not, hold the nascent embryonic kernels of the monsters for future generations.